Yesterday, I finally got my official acknowledgement of being autistic. I mean, I didn't get it in writing, but I got, I guess a verbal contract, right? I don't know. I didn't ask. Do I get a certificate? Do I get like a little card so I can pull it out whenever people are like, no, you're not, or blah, 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 blah. I didn't ask about all that. I imagine eventually I'll need something because I had been going back and forth on whether I wanted to be officially diagnosed and officially declared autistic, even though I have known it to be true. I've known it to be true for well over a year now, and I think I was first told that I might be. Oh, I was first told that I was autistic by God. And I know right there I'm gonna lose half of y'all because nobody believes in God anymore. And those that do believe in God don't believe He speaks to us anymore. And that He can speak to us quite literally. I mean, you don't hear it audibly, at least I don't. It's a mental voice. But it was, in 2020 when I had my big awakening and my near-death experience and all of that kind of stuff, and my mind came on like a supercomputer. I was isolated in a hospital for 16 days with COVID and pneumonia and so many things, just crazy spiritual, supernatural things, from the near-death experience to God coming into my body, making videos for me, talking to me, giving me visions, my consciousness moving into the clock that was on the wall when His went into my body, like just all kinds of bizarre stuff. And while I was in that hospital, I went back and forth between being in those experiences and being somewhat lucid. Not that I wasn't lucid in those experiences, but like more grounded in reality. It was like God kept pulling me into down the rabbit hole, spiritual rabbit hole, and then I come out of it, and what's that? Something happened, I even have video. I know this isn't me speaking. That's not my voice. That's not how I speak. I have no idea what that even is. Like what is this stuff that I'm experiencing? And oh man, it was the most magical story of my life, even though it was, scary at times, mostly because of the COVID stuff and because of the whole near-death stuff. And because I was I was live streaming a lot of stuff, and my family didn't like it, and that just made things rough. But I experienced a lot of different things, and some of the things that I experienced, one in particular, related to this, was my mind. It was like I was plugged in. All of a sudden, I was plugged in to like this just super galactic computer. Like I just got like a major level up. Like I went Super Saiyan in anime terms, and I could see how all of the dots in my life connected to make me the perfect place to be where I was at. And I could see and understand things and make connections that I had been struggling to make. Now, I have had experiences like that before, but never to that level. I knew that I was different when I was a kid. Now, I knew that I was really gifted when I was a kid. I knew I was really gifted when I was young. And I hid that shit because I didn't want my freaking friends and family to be mean to me or jealous or to feel bad or whatever, because I believe that everybody has some sort of amazing, awesome superpower and they just haven't discovered it yet. But because I discovered some of mine so young, I didn't want to deal with that drama. I just wanted friends, like, you know what? I mean, when I was a kid, I was like, if I need to play like the dumb, submissive, whatever to be friends, I will, just because I thought people were wonderful. Even the ones that, really weren't that wonderful. But I just like, like, aren't you interesting? Like, you're so cool. Like, like I love all of you. I don't care. I wanted to love everyone in the world. And anyways, so I started masking. I didn't know what the word masking meant, but I started masking. But then, after a lot of trauma, I started to become aware that I was having challenges. And it was really when I switched schools in the 10th grade. that I really, really struggled. Now, I had to do some, like, extra speech classes and stuff like that when I was a little bit younger. But when I changed schools and they weren't teaching math and science, like, in the same order as my other school, and so, like, I just missed this huge wave of material. And on top of that, all the stuff that I was going through with the court stuff I was involved in. It was then, when I was trying to work extra hard to catch up, that I realized that my brain wasn't working right. And I didn't know how to articulate it, but I did try to express it. I remember sitting in class trying so hard to absorb the words that were coming out of my teacher's mouth and the words that were on the board, but it was like they just floated through. Like, my brain couldn't hold them. I saw them, I heard them, but then they just completely disappeared. And I have been prone to periods like that, and periods where I go through periods where my mind won't take in anything new like that. Like, the last really bad period I had was right after my experiences in 2020. I was severely depressed, and messed up in a lot of ways for about 10 months. A lot of that I attribute to basically my family making me feel crazy and causing me to doubt and making me feel pressure to feel embarrassed by and to be quiet about my experiences in the hospital. I mean, don't get me wrong. Most of my family are good people, and I love them, and I know that they love me. But man, I'm totally feeling some freaking Cinderella vibes right now. I'm like, man, I worked my ass off my whole life. I always tried to tell them that I was different, but they wouldn't believe me. They didn't care. They're just like, you're too much, you're too passionate, you're too this. Like, always wanting me to make myself smaller, never wanting to connect with me. And hell, even when I try and ask them 5 million questions about themselves, it was too much. They don't want me to know them. They don't want to be known the way that I want to know people. And then I would somewhat like to be known. I mean, honestly, I don't want people to know me that much these days anyways. Despite what you may think, what you see on the internet, despite all of my sharing, I'm a creature of immense depth. Thank you, autism, and all the other stuff that I have. No one can ever know me. I'm too deep. So, but good luck trying. No, my husband can't even keep up with my social media posts. I can't even keep up with them either, guys. I don't know how many websites I have. I don't know how many social media channels I have. And see, that was one of the things. It's one of the first things that my family freaked out about was me live streaming for 4 hours on Facebook while in the hospital. And I'm like, and that's before the fun stuff really started. I'm like, are you serious? I mean, they were going crazy over it, especially my mom. She's like, you were talking for 4 hours straight. You were just talking. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, that's what I do. Now I realize that despite her seeming to know, she had no idea what my life was like. We don't know what other people's lives are like other than the small fraction of time that we see them. I have been a creature of the internet since 1999, building websites and communities, gaming online with people, live streaming, talking in voice chat for not just 4 hours, but man, like sometimes 8, 12 hours. I mean, there's quite a few times I've pulled some all-nighters and stuff, And now I have some answers as to why I'm so different, why I'm such a night owl, because it's the only time my nervous system can really relax. Why, the whole periods of hyperfocus, and also the problems that I encounter sometimes with overstimulation or with my mind shutting down and all of that kind of stuff. And, I never suspected that I was autistic because I knew I was different, but that wasn't something that I saw, that I was aware of. I was just trying to survive. Oh God, I was just trying to survive, especially with the decade of PTSD and all of that kind of stuff. And then I also have ADHD and bipolar. I've got the full cocktail. Now, to be honest, I'm 100% thankful. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. I've always known that I had superpowers, and weaknesses, but I was like, what, I'm okay having these weaknesses here in exchange for superpowers. But it drove me crazy not understanding why I had these challenges. And then also the frustration of trying to explain to other people, I'm not a freaking idiot, like people don't believe me. I remember the first time I talked to someone about being autistic, and they're like, no, you're too good at communicating. I'm like, you don't know what my life has been like, and you don't know what I've had to do to compensate. You don't know what I looked like 10 years ago. You don't know all the things that I've been through. And also, I am incredibly fucking brilliant. It's just that I am prone. It's like a wave. It comes and it goes. I never know when it's going to come or when it's gonna go. Anytime I talk real fast, my mom's like, you're manic right now, right? And I'm like, I know what manic is like for me. I'm like, no, Mom, I'm not manic right now. What it is I've been through this pattern so much in my life that when I am able to speak and to think clearly, I have to get it out. I have to get it out right then and right there, or it's going to disappear. The things I want to say are going to disappear, and my ability to express them might disappear at any point. So I said in 2021, after my experiences, I was severely depressed. My muscles had atrophied from in the hospital. I was still walking with like a walker and stuff for a while and doing all this stuff. I was just in a bad state, and I only had my research paper. I only had my thesis project left, my research paper, and I think I had started my work on Lumen or about to, but really it was the research paper. I thought I was going to have to drop out of grad school with nothing left basically but a research paper, because I just couldn't do it. I would read the same paragraph over and over and over again, and my brain just would not hold that information. I couldn't figure out how to rephrase 3 words. And I can't tell you, I can't describe the sensation of being able to do something one day and then the next you can't, and you know that you were able to do it the day before, that you should be able to do it, but now all of a sudden you can't, and you don't know why you can't do it now. So for me, getting this official diagnosis is very validating. Now, that being said, when God told me that I was autistic, he told me I was autistic and that I was a savant and that I had figured out basically how to overcome it, or mask or something. It's a spirit communication, stuff like that is often very metaphorical, so I don't want to go into the specifics right now. But when he told me that, there were so many other things I was experiencing. That was just one of that didn't seem like that big a deal to me at the time. But I remember I was confused by it, and I laughed about it because I'm like, I'm not autistic. I remember like, what the hell, even later when I knew for sure for myself that was in fact God speaking to me, I still was like, he wasn't telling me the truth. What's this? What's that? That's not right. Yeah, now I have finally gotten to the point where it's like, what, if God tells me something, it's probably true. I'm pretty sure God knows better than anybody else on this planet, including me. But I put it away in my mind. I had other things to process, other things to deal with. And then years later, a few years later, I was trying to make a video talking about invisible illnesses and the problems I have, because I have had a history of people not believing me when I'm telling them that I'm having challenges. And basically, like, when I try and get help, I don't get help, or I don't get support because people don't believe me. That whole, if they can't see it, then it's not real thing. Though it's weird because a lot of people that won't believe you about invisible illnesses believe in God. You can't see God, you can see acts of God, but you can't see God. So what's the difference, guys? Anyways, while trying to describe the problems I was having, my mind came back online. My mind came back, it reconnected to that supercomputer, and a whole bunch of dots connected, and I remembered that experience in the hospital. And I felt guided to go look, because I'd never really read up on it. I felt guided to go read up on masking. And when I read up on masking, I just immediately started crying, because the thing that I had been trying to describe My whole life, that's what it was. And not only was that, it also explained why I was always so interested in masks. I even did art projects like underneath the mask. I mean, I remember in undergrad, I started wondering if I'm a different person. I seem like a different person around all these different groups of people. Who am I really? Who am I when I'm by myself, I started realizing that we as people, we wear all these different masks based on who we're with. But who are we really? Why can't we just be ourselves? And anyways, a lot of things made sense. And then I started making a very conscious choice to not mask, to try and live more as myself, more authentically, to try not to let the pressure to conform, to suppress myself and make myself smaller, to, not do this, not do that. I made a conscious choice to stop doing that to the best of my ability. And I'm still working on it, but I've made huge progress. But here's what I've experienced since then. First, I didn't realize how much energy I had been using my whole life in order to hide and suppress all of my stuff. And it has been overwhelming at times, not masking. Like it's like I'm getting used to a new level of energy, because all of a sudden I'm not using all this energy to keep my body from moving on its own, or to block out this or that. And so I have, and having all that energy, now my mind has more energy to work and stuff. But because I have been working to not mask and other things, I have also experienced a lot of periods of overstimulation. And now I realize that these breakdowns that I had in the past and these fits and things that I would have were all connected to this. But like in the last few years, so at first it was enough. I've never been a fan of labels. There's a whole lot of labels that fit me, but I don't really like identifying myself with labels. I kind of have been the last few years. It's like an active rebellion. But I don't like them because, as far as I'm concerned, any one of us can be anything and everything that we want to be at any moment. And I see too often when people give themselves labels that they box themselves in. But sometimes labels can be very validating. And sometimes labels can help you find the support and the things that you need. Well, I have had several really bad episodes of overstimulation in the last few years, ranging from not being able to control the movement of my hand and having to use my other hand to hold my arm down because it would not stop moving on its own, and not being able to write and stuff, not being able to keep, I thank God for dance. Dance is how I regulate my energy and my emotions. And when I get overstimulated, I have to dance. I have to dance. I have to go separate from people, and I have to dance because that's my way of getting that energy out. And thankfully, I'm thankful that I'm able to kind of disguise my stimming or whatever you call the freaking movements and stuff with an art form. And I guess it's not really disguise as it is transmute. I'm experiencing all this excess energy. What can I do with it? And because of it, I'm not only experiencing all this excess energy, I am extra sensitive to energy, which makes sense because people on the spectrum are extra sensitive to all of these different senses. I not only have all this extra energy, but I can feel energy in the air around me. People ask me how my movements are so smooth and stuff like that. I'm not pushing my body. I'm letting my body ride the currents of energy in the air, like swimming in the water. And that has been an amazing gift and blessing. But I will say it's been difficult. It's been difficult because I feel like I've gotten to the point now, like I can't hide in normal society anymore, and I can't be out in normal society for too long anymore, or I get overwhelmed. I hope one day to get to the point where I don't care at all if people see me moving my hands or speaking in tongues or dancing and stuff. But I'm still getting myself there, and my dance as both an art form and as like basically a form of therapy and energy and emotional regulation for me has become an essential part of my existence for me to help regulate in this environment that I'm in. Because it's like I was masking all these years, and I was like a bottle holding all this stuff in, and my bottle was getting ready to burst. And maybe it did burst. I mean, maybe that's why what happened to me at that time. Well, now that I have taken the lid off of that bottle, I can't ever put it back on that bottle. Like it's not even there anymore. Like there is no going back. I said earlier that I didn't want, I've known I'm bipolar basically my whole life, but I never wanted that official diagnosis. And so when I would go to the mental health people and the doctors and stuff, I always made sure that I didn't talk about any of that stuff. Not that I was embarrassed about having bipolar, but because I don't think it's a disorder. Other people see it as a disorder. I see it as a difference, a mental difference, or a physiological difference, depending on what you're talking about. I don't see it as a disorder. I think just like anything, it can be in an unhealthy state or a healthy state. But I have always resisted letting other people give me labels that I know they mean in an insulting way, Like, no, I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want your stigma on me. I'm not going to take this. It's not, why should I carry your stigma? Because you're too fucking dumb to, understand that people who live with this kind of stuff understand it better than any of you do. And granted, all of our situations are different, but I think that anyone that's different like me, if they grow up in the right environment, would eventually come to realize that the things that make them different aren't a curse, but a blessing. They just need to learn how to adapt in this world that we live in that is not accommodating. They need to find other people like them so that they have more confidence and strength when they're out in the world with the rest of the muggles. I've said it before, I'll say it again. We are the mutants and X-Men, and we're born different. And honestly, there have been people that are different like us throughout history. It's just a lot of them were burned at the stake and all that kind of stuff. But we need to learn how to control our powers. And once we learn how to control our powers, nothing can stop us. And the world needs us. It doesn't deserve us, but it needs us. And we do need to come together to try and make this world a better place. I don't want to get too distracted, so I'll just briefly mention that I have a project that I'm working on called Moonforge. You can go to moonforge.com to learn more about it. It's just getting started. But basically my dream is I'm just going to be the next Professor Xavier. I'm going to build Xavier School for gifted youngsters. But for right now, it's going to be a Discord community, and it's called Moonforged. And it's for people that are neurodivergent or allies or anybody that is an ally that wants to come together to help make the world a better and more inclusive space for everyone. Anyways, I had started to reach out to get an official diagnosis a couple of years ago, and then I was like, that stubbornness was like, no, I don't need nobody's term. I don't have anything to prove to anybody. I don't have anything to prove to anyone. I know this for myself, and it makes me feel better. Yes, I get freaking frustrated when I have been telling my family, when they're basically being mean or acting weird about certain ways that I am or whatever, and they don't believe me. Like, some of them did not believe me when I told them that I was pretty sure that I was autistic. Even like the time when my hand went out of control, that led me to go read up about signs of overstimulation in people with autism and stuff like that. And the things that I read, every single one of them was me. Every single one, it's like, finally things make sense. Now that part has been a blessing. It's like finally so many things I experienced that I had questions about made sense. The story of the ugly duckling popped into my head earlier today. Sometimes I think about that in relation to my husband for different reasons. But then I realized, that applies to me. Oh wait, I just remembered. I rewrote that story recently. I rewrote it about, I can't remember if it was about neurodivergent people or what, but I need to go find that. Oh, come on, I need to, oh guys. If I don't write this down, then I'm not going to remember. Okay, ugly duckling story, post it. Okay. Well, I joined Threads a few months ago. And it was such a relief when I got on Threads. All of these, somehow I ended up on the neurodivergent, autism, ADHD threads, you know, and even though I knew that I'm autistic, and I do have an ADHD diagnosis and bipolar and stuff, you know, I still kind of had imposter syndrome, or felt it a little bit, you know, seeing all these people write about this, and then also seeing people attacking others for self-identifying as autistic. You know, just because you're not self-aware doesn't mean that the rest of us aren't. You know, that's always the thing that I want to say is, you know, I mean, because it's like, how insulting to think that I, with all of my education and life experience and accomplishments, to think for someone to insinuate that I am not intelligent enough to be able to identify whether I have these characteristics or not. Honestly, I just want to reach through the screen and smack the hell out of most of these people. Because also, who are they to gatekeep? I hate gatekeepers. Go mind your own business and live your own life. Stop trying to police other people's lives. If you just go pay more attention to your own life and stop trying to police everybody else's, the world would be a much better place. But even then, you know, I was like, oh, I don't know. And then like I'm like fighting with myself. I'm like, I don't want to go be diagnosed just because everybody else is or whatever. You know, I don't have anything to prove. Even if I was kind of suffering that way. You know, I even had some talks with my psychologist a couple of times about, you know, he asked me, like, is it important for you to be, you know, labeled and stuff? And I was like, no, it's more like, you know, or we were having a conversation about, is it important for things to have a name, you know? And at the time I was like, no. But I'll tell you what got me to finally talk to the damn psychiatrist and be like, you know what? I'm ready to be officially evaluated. I want my official evaluation or whatever. And that is that I'm looking into going back to school for my doctorate, and or maybe another master's, but I really want my doctorate. If I do go back for a master's, it's going to be to go get a doctorate. And I was reading one of these schools and all of their freaking stuff or whatever, you know, and it's like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but basically it was like, they had some crazy, ridiculous stuff that I know would be really difficult for me because I can't function, like my energy stuff or whatever, you know, like I'm a really good student, but I never know when my mind is going to shut down. I never know when I'm going to have these comprehension problems or trouble or articulation. And like, I think I had started to try and look into getting accommodated my last few years of grad school, but there were like too many hoops to jump through at that time. And I was looking at these colleges and, you know, if I have documentation, then they will make accommodations for me so that I can actually do this damn program. So anyways, so that's why I finally was like, F it. Because I would really like my doctorate. I don't need anybody else to acknowledge it or to tell me. But I know God was telling the truth. I know that he was right when he told me that not only am I incredibly gifted and all this stuff, but that I am a savant. I can see things. I can sense things that so many others cannot. My mind doesn't work like theirs. And it's like, I'm like a supercomputer down here on Earth that's been basically like chained down by y'all stupid, primitive, unaccommodating rules that just are designed to hold people like me back. And if I just had the freedom I needed to freaking be able to do things in my own time at the rate that I need to, which for me is basically working on things at night, because my brain works better at certain times of the day, working on things at night, and I work better basically like binging, like, like I'm like a, like a wave. Instead of existing like this all the time, like most of the Muggle zombies on this planet do or have been forced to do. Most of them aren't Muggles. I mean, honestly, all of you aren't Muggles. You're all being enslaved, but that's another subject. But instead of existing like this all the time, I'm like this. But the thing that's awesome about this is, I have my low periods, but the lower I go, the further up I go when I go back up. Man, I can't even tell you how much shit that I have accomplished in just the last 48 hours. I mean, in 24, it's still pretty impressive. But when I was in undergrad, I was struggling a lot then because I had severe PTSD at the time. And now this kind of, like, a lot of things have been clicking, because it's like, okay, well, now I understand why my mental breakdowns were so bad and why I had to do this, why I had to take breaks from things. Now I understand that I wasn't just having weird stress and panic attacks. I was overstimulated and didn't know how to take care of myself so that I could exist in my own time at my own rate and protect myself from other things. And anyways, I'm just rambling now, but I just wanted to make this video and post it because it's a really big deal. I hate that we have to let other people give us labels. I think we should choose our own labels. I think that as we learn, we should be able to identify ourselves. It doesn't make any sense to me how other people, I guess it's that parent-child relationship, but at a certain point, I think we're well more than capable of identifying ourselves better than someone else can. Like my mom, she sees less than 10% of my life, but she didn't believe me when I told her that I was this or that. And I'm like, how are you so sure that you know the answer when you see less than this much of my life? Thankfully now, she's very supportive and she understands. But I also know one of the reasons that she had a hard time with it is because I was hiding it and because I wasn't aware enough about it to be able to express it earlier, If you don't have experience with something or you're unfamiliar with something, you're not very likely to acknowledge it. This is a menthol stick, but let me just say, somebody's like, what are you snorting? These nasal boom boom sticks. Oh my God, they're so good for your allergies. Okay, there we go. All right, there's my, people will be thinking I'm like over here like snorting drugs. Oh, man. These things are amazing, FYI. But I wish I didn't have so much to do right now. So that I could just sit with these feelings and these thoughts and think about what I first tried to get help and identify what was different about me in the 10th grade. Knowing that I was different before, but that was when I first really consciously realized that I was having trouble with things. And I tried, but I didn't know the terminology. I didn't even know what anxiety was until I was in my 30s. I had been experiencing it all the way up to then, but I just always lumped it in with depression, And then I realized, oh, that's a very different thing. And it's just, sometimes it takes you a long time to learn things or to realize things. And there are things about me that I have now realized that some of my family members did know. I think they knew before I knew. And that's kind of bizarre. But still, I still don't think that we should label other people. We should let people label themselves in the time that they're ready. So, this isn't really a video about, hey, go get yourself diagnosed, official diagnosis. I don't think you need it. unless you're like me and you're going to go back to school, and just let me say that I struggled. And when I say struggle, I'm not talking about, I tortured myself. I tortured myself and I suffered physically, mentally, and emotionally in both undergrad and graduate school, trying to fit in to the Muggle way of doing things, trying to fit their timeline. But every person on this planet is unique. And one of the things that led me into education was that I realized when I was an undergrad that the system was not made for non-traditional students and people that were different. Now, at the time, I was focused on like people that had been through trauma and stuff like that. You know, thankfully, I had just a few professors that gave me the encouragement that I needed to not give up on myself completely. And because of them, after I had my breakdown and I took my break in undergrad and I went back, because of them, you know, I went back with a vengeance. I fucking kicked ass. Oh my God, I kicked ass so fucking hard. I kicked ass so hard. And yeah, you know, there were many times because of my challenges that I thought that I would never be successful, that I thought that I would never be able to have a normal life or do certain things and stuff. And even though some things are still challenging for me, and I don't think that I can fit into certain types of work environments and stuff, the things that I do, I excel at, and I'm able to do things. You know, I'm able. I mean, honestly, I'm just as fucking intelligent as Elon Musk. You know, I know most of y'all don't like him right now. I don't particularly like him right now either. But you know, he is incredibly intelligent. And I remember it was quite a few years ago that I posted on Twitter before he'd bought it that I wanted to be the Elon Musk of the creative industry. And honestly, I think I'm on my way. And so just that contrast in dropping out of undergrad partway through, thinking that I was a failure, that I would never be able to accomplish anything, that I'd never be able to do this or that I, you know, didn't even think I'd be able to go back to grad school and stuff. And I mean, and of course, then I didn't think I'd be able to finish grad school. And now here I am, you know, like self-published my own educational tabletop game. I'm speaking about game-based learning at conferences. I'm going to be doing a workshop on one next week. I have my own game company now. I have all these other projects that I'm part of, and I'm doing these things that I never thought I'd be able to do. I mean, just in the last 48 hours, I've basically designed 3 different games and a whole bunch of other stuff. You know, finally my art is starting to blossom in the way that I always dreamed it would. And now words are flowing back to me and I'm writing again. And it's just like, I feel like I'm coming back into that, you know, that creative artist savant stuff. And I can't wait to see where life takes me. And I remember that at some point last year, I had made a post somewhere, probably Facebook, talking about like that this is going to be the year I explode, you know, in a good way. And I feel like it's happening right now. I feel like it's happening right now, and I have a really good feeling about this conference. I have a really good feeling about this conference, and I have a really good feeling about some of the other plans that I have for this coming month. And so I guess, you know, just because I talk forever, you know, what I do want to say is don't ever give up on yourself. Don't ever give up on yourself. Don't let other people gaslight you into believing that you're dumb, that you're not capable, or whatever. You're not dumb, and you are capable. But we are all unique human beings with our own gifts. We're not supposed to be robots. You're not supposed to look and act and be gifted in the exact same way as someone else. You need to discover your superpower. You need to discover who you are, how you learn best, what makes you tick, you know, what makes you different, what makes you wonderful, what are your weaknesses and your strengths. Let's just say that we all come to this planet with a certain amount of skill points, and we distribute them to our talent trees like we would a video game character differently. Figure out where you put your skill points? You only had so many. Did you spread them even across the board so that you could be average, and okay at everything? Or did you put all of your skill points into art, communication, creativity, and leadership, and not so much into, strength or math, and stuff like that? Or maybe you're the kind of person where your mind works two different ways and you can do both things, but not at the same time. So if you're like me, I can do math and all this kind of stuff, but I have to reboot my system and it takes a long time, so I don't do it very often. Every person on this planet has unique and special gifts. And those of us that do fall in the autism and ADHD, neurodivergent, or whatever, we're inclined to different things. And so once again, I want to invite you to go over to moonforge.com. There is a link to a Discord server on that webpage. Come join my school, or it will be a school one day. Right now it's a community. Come join my guild. It's my goal to be the next Professor Xavier and to help you and others discover what your skills and your gifts are. Free of charge. This is a come join my family and let's help each other together sort of thing. As far as I'm concerned, every person on this planet is my kid. Even those people that, have like 40 years on top of me. I'm your mom or your sister or your cousin, whatever relationship you want to be, but you're all part of my family. And I want to see all of us succeed. But, maybe I have a special bias towards people that have been struggling the way that I have struggled in my life. So anyways, I love you. Thank you for watching this video and spending 40 something minutes with me. You're awesome. Please stay in touch.